I'm going to go over the seam allowances and the inlays for our jacket. The solid lines indicate our intended sew line. That may change based upon alteration, but for the purposes of what we're doing, that's going to be our sew line. At the side panel, where it's going to join to the back, or the side of the jacket here, 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches at the arm side is traditionally what we're going to add in. I typically add in 3/4 to 1 inch at the shoulder. So go ahead and add in 1 inch for your seam allowance there. And then across the front, classically on a jacket pattern, you're not going to see seam allowance here. It's going to feel a little weird. What you're going to do is you're going to add inlay to that. And inlay is simply in excess of seam allowance. So our sew lines right here, we're going to add an additional 1 1/4 inches total here and all the way down to here. And then we're just going to kind of taper out at the bottom. Our inlay or our hem allowance is going to be 2 inches. At the shoulder seam where it joins the arm side, we're going to push out an additional 3/4 inch. So our seam allowance is 1.5 inches classically. So we're going to go out 1.25 inches and then we're going to just zero out about 1.5 inches below the notch. For the side body or the side panel here, again, our seam allowances are pretty classic. 1/2 inch here. It's going to be 1/2 inch at the under part of the arm side. It's going to be 1/2 inch at the back where it joins with the back of the jacket. Our inlay or our hem allowance is going to be 2 inches at the bottom. On the side panel where it joins to the back of the jacket, we're going to push out an additional 3/4 inch. So 1 1/4 inches total on this side. It's going to push up about 1.5 inches across the top too to accommodate for that area. And then from this point, our sew line, we're going to come out about 3/4 inch and we're going to come down to 0 at the notch. For the jacket back, our standard seam allowance at the side of the jacket is 1.5 inches. That includes the arm side as well. Again, classically at the top, we're going to do 3/4 to 1 inch. In my case, I did 3/4, but you can do 1 inch. That's quite fine. At the neckline, it's 3/8, and then we're going to do pretty classically across the back, 3/4 inch all the way down. Okay. To that, we're going to add a little bit of inlay. So we're going to add some inlay at the neckline of 5/8 inch. So this area here becomes 1 1/4 inches total. At the back here, you're going to notice there's a center back vent, and we're going to push that out an additional 2 inches right here. And then it's going to extend 1/2 inch above the back off right here. So when we come down here to sew our vent, we want to make certain it comes up 1/2 inch above that. This equates to my waistline, so I'm going to push it up 1/2 inch above the waistline. So once again, this is 3/4 inch. We're going to push out the vent an additional 2 inches. So that's going to be 2 3/4 to that cut edge, 2 inches at the bottom, and then 1/2 inch above the waistline here. Here's our upper sleeve. Seam allowance on the under portion is 1/2 inch. Arm side, 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch all the way down. To that, we're going to add a hem allowance or inlay at the bottom of 2 inches straight across. And then measuring up from the fold back where it's going to finish at the hem, we're going to measure up 5 inches and we're going to come out an additional 1 inch for the vent. And we're just going to square down for that following this edge. So it'll be parallel to this edge. And so this full distance is 1 1/2 inch out. For the undersleeve, our seam allowances are 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch at the arm side, 1/2 inch. We're going to add an equal inlay for the hem that we did for the upper sleeve of 2 inches. And then we're going to do the same thing for the vent. We're going to measure up the same amount, 5 inches. We're going to square across and we're going to add an additional 1 inch. Now on this portion of the sleeve, we need to add inlay also for adjustment. So to the side seam here, or the seam here, I apologize, 3/4 inch is in addition. So it's going to be 1 1/4 inch down to the vent. And then we're going to push out that vent another 3/4 inch to make accommodation for any adjustment we need to make. At the top, I'm going to push up about another 1 1/4 inch and then square across. This distance here is about 3/4 inch down to 0, and that will accommodate our inlay at the arm side in this area.